Social anxiety disorder is one of the most common anxiety disorders people face, with an estimated 13% of people experiencing clinically diagnosable social anxiety disorder in their lifetime. Social anxiety disorder involves marked or intense fear of or anxiety about social situations in which an individual may be evaluated by others. People with social anxiety disorder fear being judged in a negative way by others and might avoid social situations because of this fear and anxiety. In addition, people with social anxiety disorder are more likely to internalize or take things personally, which leads them to perceiving potential social threats as more unpleasant than someone who doesn't have social anxiety disorder would perceive them. Social anxiety disorder has been previously associated with differences in brain processes related to emotion and threat detection, and those processes might affect their interpretation of social interactions. To test whether or not those differences in brain processes would affect how well people with social anxiety disorder respond to different types of treatment, researchers at UCLA conducted a study. People with social anxiety disorder and people with no diagnosed mental disorders were shown video clips of actors delivering socially threatening statements, things like, "No one likes you," and neutral statements, things like, "I need a pen," while having their brain scanned. As expected, the socially threatening statements, "No one likes you," made all the participants, the healthy participants with no diagnosed mental disorders, and those with social anxiety disorder, more distressed than neutral statements, according to their self-reports. And the participants with social anxiety disorder were even more distressed than the so-called healthy control group by both types of clips. In fact, the social anxiety group reported feeling more distress even to neutral statements. The brain scans revealed that during social rejection clips, the healthy group showed increased brain activation in two parts of their brain that involve recognition and evaluating emotions. In social anxiety participants, brain scans showed increased activation in the parts of their brains associated with emotion and threat detection, fight or flight response, memory, reorientation of attention, and processing of information, but they showed increased activation when viewing neutral clips. The participants with social anxiety disorder reported more distress when viewing negative clips. They thought that the negative clips, things like "no one likes you," were more distressing, but the brain scans seemed to indicate that the neutral clips, things like "I need a pen," caused more of a threat response in the brain. It's possible that this is because of the tendency for people with social anxiety disorder to perceive ambiguous situations as more threatening. The negative stimulus was straightforward. It's very obviously negative, whereas the neutral stimulus required interpretation of the actor's intent through drawing on memory, determining the actor's tone and expression, assessing whether sarcasm might be present, and a whole host of other complications. What do they really mean? In addition, the same actors portrayed some negative and some neutral clips. So the participants may have recalled the feelings they had when that actor said something negative while they were viewing a neutral clip, making the outwardly neutral clip even more complicated to decipher. The participants with social anxiety disorder were then separated into groups who either received 12 weeks of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, or who were waitlisted for therapy. The researchers at UCLA found that those whose anxiety was reduced the most by cognitive behavioral therapy were those who had higher brain activity in their amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex, Those are the areas of the brain related to threat detection and decision making. CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, is a therapy focused on reducing or eliminating distorted or unwanted thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. Therefore, the participants who were already making more decisions about threats through use of their amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex were the ones who would benefit most from a therapy that helps to reorganize how to make those decisions. Those who had higher brain activity in their posterior insula, an area of the brain that uses sensory input to create emotional context for experiences, had more reduction in measured anxiety after 12 weeks of ACT therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy. In contrast to CBT, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, promotes acceptance and mindfulness without trying to change unwanted thoughts, but simply accepting them in a new context. Those who had more awareness of emotional situations via activation of their posterior insula were more likely to benefit from this therapy that promoted acceptance and mindfulness.